Like a panther. Yes? Yes?
Welcome to the Cinemaverick channel, where we talk about movies, TV shows, and board games. Now, as you can tell from the title, I've decided that I'm not going to keep watching the Book of Boba Fett after episode 4. I'm not going to try to convince you to stop watching the show. It's just more to give you an idea of what to expect if you haven't started. And if you have a different point of view, please leave it in the comments below. I mean, it really depends on the kind of Star Wars fan you are, or how you came into it. You know, are you a fan of the original trilogy, or the prequel trilogy, or the Disney trilogy, the TV shows, video games, books, so or everything, or maybe you're just a brand new fan. Maybe you just watched The Mandalorian and decided to watch this. So, really kind of depends on you. Where I'm coming from is I'm a huge fan of the original trilogy. And as it may be a cliche, but mostly The Empire Strikes Back. I think that's a super perfect film, very watchable today. Star Wars 1977 mostly holds up. And yes, there are things I don't like about Return of the Jedi, but there are quite a few good things in there as well. I'm also a huge fan of 2003's Knights of the Old Republic. Maybe the gameplay is outdated, but the story in that game is incredible. So if you haven't played it, might even be just worth watching a YouTube video that just has the story. It's incredible. So, Boba Fett. The quick one, let's answer that question. For some people who are like perplexed, why do people like Boba Fett? He has like 4 or 5 lines. What's the big deal? I can give my explanation, or what I think. It's a writing technique, I would say, when you copy and paste the coolness of one character onto another. And I think The Empire Strikes Back does that very skillfully. So, Darth Vader is established as this cruel, menacing, mysterious character who's wearing a mask, and you don't know who he is. And it's a very cool outfit. And then you have Boba Fett also wearing a mask, mysterious, cool, menacing. And they share the scene with all these other bounty hunters. And, Vader in that scene talks to Boba Fett as an equal. And he points at him specifically, saying, I want them alive, no disintegrations. Basically, don't kill them. And this is the same film where Darth Vader is killing people left, right, and center. And Vader is warning this other character, please don't do maybe what you did last time. I want them alive. And this menacing character says, as you wish. He's also the only character who dares to talk back to Vader in that film, whereas all the other characters are terrified. So I think that instantly elevated him, and it doesn't hurt that he has a really cool outfit. I think Return of the Jedi diminished that a little bit because they used his death as kind of a slapstick joke. And I think that's just a result of that film leaning a bit more on comedy and campiness than the previous ones. So his death is kind of a joke, which is unfortunate. Now, fast forward to today. He has his own show, and this is a minor spoiler for The Mandalorian, but he appears in The Mandalorian as this mysterious cloaked figure with a gaffi stick, and that becomes important later on. Now he has his own show, and I think this is largely due to the fact that, Disney's paying attention to what everyone's saying on social media, so they see what people are searching for, so they want to give the fans what they want. When The Mandalorian was first, rumored to be coming about, a lot of people thought that show was a Boba Fett show. And you know what? In a way, it kind of is. I mean, he is wearing virtually the same outfit, and he starts out as this cold, calculating bounty hunter. And then because of Baby Yoda, as the show progresses, not a spoiler to say, he shows that he has a heart of gold. Quickly on that, you might have different opinions on different episodes, but I absolutely really love The Mandalorian overall, both seasons. So this show comes around, and that puts the writers in a precarious position because what are they going to do? Are they going to make the same kind of show as The Mandalorian where we got a bounty hunter? Well, no, they go a different route. This isn't Boba Fett, the bounty hunter show. This is Boba Fett, the crime boss or leader of a criminal family show. So you need to know that going in. So quickly on the first few episodes, and by the way, there'll be minor spoilers, but I'll do my best to keep it as generic as possible. But if you really want to go in fresh, I would watch the first 4 episodes and then come back here. Obviously, the first episode did enough for me to want to keep watching. I wouldn't say it was amazing or bad. It was intriguing, and it pulled me in. So it did exactly what it needed to do. It showed how Boba Fett escaped the Sarlacc pit and how he ends up with the Sand People. Okay. It also introduces that there's two different timelines. There's this timeline before Boba Fett meets the Mandalorian, and that's when he's wearing the black cloak, and the timeline afterward when he, kills Big Bib Fortuna and takes the spot that was once, Jabba's as the leader of crime on Tatooine. And it's that timeline because he's wearing the Boba Fett armor. Right out of the gate, so that I don't repeat myself a lot, I would say the pre-Mandalorian timeline is definitely more engaging for me than the post. And I would say that the main reason this becomes a problem in the subsequent episodes is you can tell that the post-Mandalorian content is trying to slow things down. It's trying to meander and fill time. Whereas the pre-Mandalorian story is moving more at a breakneck pace and trying to catch us up with everything that happened to everything that happened to Boba Fett before we see him in The Mandalorian. So then we get to the second episode, and I think the second episode is the best one. I really, really enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. I think the winner of that episode, and maybe the show overall, don't know yet, is the Sand People, the Tusken Raiders. We got a bit of them in Mandalorian, and here they're really fleshed out. They seem more like, you see the complexities of their culture, and I believe them as a tribe, whereas before they were just, mindless savages. So I really, really appreciate that. Now, it's a story we've seen many times before, obviously. It's, if you've seen The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise, or Dances with Wolves, or even Avatar, it's that story, you have this character who's captured by these indigenous people, and, they don't see eye to eye, and then he slowly sees the nobility and beauty of their ways, and learns their ways, and slowly, and eventually is accepted as one of them. Even though we've seen this a million times, somehow this story just still works. It works so well, and I think it's great in this show. So that brings me to the other timeline, and I think you really start to see the cracks in that timeline, particularly in episode 3. Now, there's been a lot of controversy about this, cyborg kid biker gang and their flashy 1950s style speeder bikes, and I think that's for good reason. Some people say that it doesn't belong in Star Wars. I don't know if I would go that far. I think it doesn't belong in Tatooine. And I think that's just a problem with this show and a lot of the movies. Tatooine is clearly overused as a location. It's understandable why, but if you think of what that planet is supposed to be, it's supposed to be this backwater planet where basically nothing happens and Luke is bored out of his mind. So the fact that so much of and it's the reality because Boba Fett took over Jabba's spot, the story has to be set on Tatooine. And that creates another problem for the writers because they don't want to just keep throwing the same things we've seen over and over again. Of course, they want to throw in some surprises or things, there's a whole side over here of Tatooine you've never seen before. The reason why it doesn't work for me, and cyborgs are fine. Darth Vader is a cyborg. The thing is, he has all the financial and technological power of the Empire to build him that cyborg body. And they're building Death Stars that nobody's ever seen before. Luke, on the other hand, he had a cyborg hand, and he was on the Rebel base, and probably their best, medical droid that they had there. The way I think of Tatooine, it's like the Wild West. It's the middle of nowhere. You barely have the supplies that you'd expect on other planets. All the ships and speeders are probably way outdated and years old. So to see these kids that we would imagine are poor, they can't even afford water, but they still are able to, mesh cybernetics with the human body so easily. It's a little. It breaks the world.
Well, you should have started with that.
So let's talk about Boba as a character. In the original trilogy, he is portrayed as completely ruthless. And, he's working for the likes of Darth Vader and Jabba. And there's no indication at all that he has any problems with any of this. Now, you could throw back at me, well, yeah, the Sand People were savages, and now we saw a different side of them. But even though the Sand People's culture is more fleshed out, it doesn't fundamentally contradict with the Sand People we've seen. And plus, there could be different tribes. So maybe some Tusken Raiders behave a certain way and some Tusken Raiders behave a different way. Whereas with Boba, it's quite a huge change. He's become quite, I would say, cuddly and very forgiving and very diplomatic. And I think all of this would be fine. I think if we were on the Book of Boba Fett Season 2 and maybe a whole bunch of events happen this season that turn Boba into this more, forgiving and diplomatic version of himself. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that he does that I would say you could almost argue are Disney-ified version of Boba Fett.
Like a bantha. Yes. Yes. Here you go.
And I think even what happened to the Rancor is kind of a symbol of maybe what happened to Boba Fett himself. They're trying to show that the Rancor is more of a complex animal than we already know it to be, and that it can be trained, and it's actually very friendly and not going to harm you. But again, it's another thing that's a bit hard to believe. You could show it in a different way. I think it would be cool to see like a Rancor mother protecting its Rancor children. But the idea that we could just be standing around the Rancor and be petting it and wanting to ride it. Yeah, for me, it's similar to the idea that you could just, pet a grizzly bear and become best friends with it. It's not to say that, grizzly bears are evil, but they are a dangerous animal, and that's what the Rancor is supposed to be. And I think there is a deliberate tendency to try to, Disneyfy a lot of these aspects of the show. So that brings me to episode 4. This episode actually wasn't on its own. It's not that bad. It just sort of was the last straw in a way for me because, again, with the modern timeline, you could tell that they were meandering and filling time. We all know that they could have a 10-minute action scene where Boba Fett gets his ship that's not called the Slave One anymore because, apparently with Disney, you can't say the word slave. So I don't know how they're going to deal with episode 1, but they're going to have to do some redubbing.
Your servant?
I'm a person, and my name is Anakin.
All prisoners have a transmitter placed inside their body somewhere.
I can't believe there's still
Prisons.
in the galaxy. The Republic's
Prison.
laws
The
are...
Republic doesn't exist out here.
I had a dream I was a Jedi. I came back here and freed all those
People.
No pod is worth toast humans, not by a long shot.
Help me recover my fire spray gunship.
The last straw, or at least the tonal shift, because we go from like the murder of all the Sand People, and in the next episode we have Boba feeding the Bantha, and when they're sneaking into Jabba's palace, there is this chef droid with all these knives and a cooking droid, and it was pretty funny when the chef droid was going General Grievous with all these different arms, and then Fennec just kind of slashed. I guess I don't know if a droid has a throat, but the wiring. That joke worked for me, but what didn't work for me was this rat-catching droid that was running around the kitchen and Boba Fett's knocking over pots and pans, chasing it. It was all a little bit slapstick.
I am Boba Fett.
I am Boba Fett.
or I am Batman. And I don't know why he's telling this to a droid. It was just very strange. And it was at that moment where I was completely out of the show and just thinking to myself, why am I watching this? So, yeah, that's what I would say is you need to, I think, if you can disconnect your expectations from what you expect Boba Fett to be and just be completely open to pretty much a new character. And I would say this is the argument some people have when they're talking about The Last Jedi and that version of Luke Skywalker and how radically different it is from what you expect Luke Skywalker to be. It's the same kind of thing with this show. Temuera Morrison, who plays Boba Fett, I think he's a good actor, and he's amazing in a movie called Once Were Warriors, which is about the Maori people. And I highly, highly recommend that movie. If you're in the mood for a drama, highly recommend it. And it's him when he's much, much younger, before his Star Wars days, before he played Jango Fett. Temuera Morrison brings his Maori culture into this character a lot. I think he also influenced a lot of what they did with the Sand People. And in that area, he has helped elevate the Tusken Raiders. But I think he's brought, it's a strange sentence to say, but I think he's brought too much nobility to a character that is really supposed to be cold and calculating. And we haven't seen enough of that. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm totally sold on Boba trying to become a crime boss. And there's just too many good shows to watch that I think my journey has ended here. Now, I imagine that down the road, there's going to be a lot of hype and fireworks around maybe cameo appearances from different characters. I'm just joking around, but you know, there's going to be an episode where Mace Windu shows up and everyone's going to lose their minds. But that prospect alone is not enough for me to continue this journey. So this is why I'm not going to be continuing after episode 4. I'm not making some big announcement, but this is where I stopped. So I'm sure some of you in the comments are going to say, I told you so. And some of you are going to say, you're missing out. So you're going to have both of those points of view. But either way, there's a lot of great Star Wars to come, and I'm very interested to see actually where The Mandalorian goes. So I'll definitely watch that. Thanks for watching.
I am Boba Fett.